Hey guys, okay, so first episode, I'm gonna get. I spent a couple days getting caught up on the game jam, trying to feel like I was gonna have a chance to get something finished before making a video about it. And now after last little intro video scene, I only have 8 days left. I'm a little worried again, but I got something pretty solid so far, and we're gonna stick with it. So my idea turned out to be as it's not a very deep take on the theme, but you're a hero. You went into a dungeon. You're looking for gold, and that's not what you found. And instead, you got to fight your way out. So, pretty basic, but it fits the theme. Now, let me switch over. Here we go. Now we're controlling with controller. Any controller should work. I have it set up with the new input system and generic controls, so any controller with the basic button setup should do the trick. So now, so far, all I have working is just a basic level and the character. I haven't set up the animation controller yet. I had it set up, but I changed characters to one that better fits the styling of the graphics. So I didn't have a PBR or realistic character in with a cartoon environment. It was looking weird. So excuse me. So here we go. We are using a nav mesh. Just kind of makes it simple for the controls and keeping them within an area. We can go up and not go off the nav mesh, which works for us. I do have it set up so you can sprint, and then the sprint will automatically stop after a minute, or 3 seconds rather, not a minute. Basically, I got to tile in all these animations to the various actions. I have a collider on the sword, and I'm getting ready to start implementing the enemies. And because I don't want you to be able to zoom out too much, I either have to make the game world a bit smaller so you can find your way around, like feel your way through the world to find your way around, or I'm going to have to add like some kind of mini-map to direct you, or not. But if I don't, it seems like you might just aimlessly looking for stuff. So we're gonna see how that goes. But other than that, let's go into some of the stop playing and go into some of the core stuff on how we did this and got to this point so far. Here we go. Alright, so the first thing I did is I went to the asset store and I downloaded a couple free packs, these RPG monster duos. In fact, we can look that up. We can go to the asset store and RPG. See if this comes up as easy as I'm thinking it will. Right here. Alright, so whatever. So this guy, Dungeon Mason, he has these. They're pretty cool assets, to be honest. For some basic assets to make a quick game. I'm using the free monster duo here because I think the little gels, they'll make nice gleaming enemies. I can make them gold and silver. I can change the colors of them pretty easy via the texture. That's no big deal. And then I have our free knight here, and we're using the hand painted texture so it matches the theme of the world. And I also have, where is it? These ones. I thought the treasure chest might fit into the theme with you're looking for treasure and not finding it. So we're going to use the treasure chest and the little slimes, little slime-like guys. These guys, little slimes. And then I had another asset, I forget which one it was, but it was for the stylized hand-painted dungeon. There's a lot of those. You can look on the store. You'll probably find something similar. Yeah, they're just basic pieces. So what I did to save some time, and this is something you could probably find on the asset store too. I wanted to do it myself. I don't know why. I'm like that. I like to do things myself when I can. And this was pretty easy to do. To take a bitmap, assign some colors to the various pieces, and then paint it up in whatever program you want, Windows Paint, whatever. And this, for instance, is a 128 by 128 image that is all just pixel colored for the various pieces. That we can find somewhere down here, right here. And we're going to use GIMP because GIMP is free, and that makes GIMP awesome. Photoshop would be cool if you could pay and actually own a copy of that version at that point in time, kind of like how Writer does. But no, they want you to pay every month for the rest of your life to just use their software. So GIMP is awesome. And here we go. And I'm not against Adobe. Don't take me wrong. I actually like Photoshop quite a bit. I can't afford to do that right now. Anyway, so this is the map I'm using. I have corner pieces marked, inside corner pieces for pillars, floor tiles, ceiling tiles, and wall tiles. Pretty simple. It's not an extravagant map making system. There aren't a lot of features. It could be extended very easily, but this is a game jam that is going to end in 8 days, and I'm far behind, so we're not adding any extra additional fluff. This was just to make it so I didn't have to add all these pieces, by hand, rotate each one, making sure they're in the exact place and the exact orientation and all that thing. So I can just draw out the map and so on and so forth. For now, this is just my little test area. I was thinking of starting with like a small area and having enemies, like enemy dens in the various like side rooms, and they would like stream towards you, and you'd have to fight off the kind of like zombie horde incoming stream constantly, and then the goal would be to destroy the nests in each of these side rooms in order to open up the next, like the path to the next area. Working your way to harder and harder sections, basically until you get to a point where you're going to be overwhelmed no matter what, and you're going to die. The win being dependent on your skill and how well you can avoid the enemies at first. But basically, don't make it so that you can win. It's like everybody's going to die at some point, that kind of thing. So it's like a little roguelike. How far can you get? How many enemies can you kill? How many rooms can you get through? That sort of thing. Given enough time, this could all be randomized and made procedural, and so that no two levels were ever the same and no room was ever the same. 8 days. And I haven't got the enemies in yet or tied up all the animations for the player character. So we have to keep our goals in check here. We are being judged on this, and as much fluff as I would like to add, I would like to turn in a finished product, because I have only ever gotten to do that on one other game jam. The couple other game jams I've participated in, I actually didn't get to finish anything that was worth turning in, and that was very disheartening, and it kind of put me off for a while. And now I am going full steam. Got the YouTube going, got the new intro. Hope you guys like the intro. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment about how you feel about the intro and the logo. Let me know. Anyway, so back to this. We have a map generator that does, as said, it takes the bitmap, and we got the prefab pieces in here, and these are arrays. Okay, even though I only have one piece down here in this prefab section, I don't have a tool right now. I apologize for streaming to be able to like zoom in down here and magnify real quick, or if Windows has that and that's what streamers use. I'm unfamiliar with the shortcuts at the moment. I have to do some studying real quick. But anyway, these pieces, there's a floor tile, or excuse me, floor tile that's used as a ceiling tile. Same thing, just different height. But here's a column. The corner piece, this is made up of 2 different walls in the corner, your floor, one of your wall pieces, all basic stuff, but the idea is we don't want it to be this bland, right? This world is incredibly lacking of anything. So what's going to be cool is I can go over here and I can take a single... I got it locked right now, that's right. There we go. I can take a single floor tile, like wall tile piece over here, and have a different prefab for it with various objects. You know, there can be crates and things, or pictures hanging on the wall, or whatever. And then we add those prefab variants, because they're all based on the same prefab, they just add a little extra fluff to them. We add those prefab variants here in the various categories, like the floors, the ceilings, walls, and it's going to select those at random. So when it builds this world, each time I build it, it's going to select at random the various prefab variations, and thus populate it with all kinds of cool stuff in the world. And that will make it so it's just not so plain, which will be important. And then I'm not going to worry about adding too much to the floor tiles to like randomly fill the rooms up, like with tables and chairs, maybe a couple things, and make those destructible, so if you collide with them they destruct, just so there's some interaction if I have time. Hopefully I have time. The idea with that, though, is you're going to be fighting the enemies, and anything that gets in your way from doing that might be lining the walls. It'll look good against the walls, but if you're running through the middle of the room trying to fight and dodge, and stuff like that will just get in the way if I don't have the time to code it all out right and make it interact properly. Like, you don't want to be facing through tables and chairs while you're trying to fight, and then your enemy is under the table because the table doesn't get out of your way, and you can't. It just all kinds of weird things that we don't want to have to deal with in the limited time frame. Again, limited time frame. I have to stress that, not to you, but to me, because I'm going to forget if I don't. 8 days. Yeah, and we're 12 minutes into this video, so we got a few more minutes to go over some things. Okay, so the map generator here, we give a game object. We pass that transform in just to act as a parent object, so we don't spam our entire hierarchy with all these various game objects to make up the game world. We want to be able to kind of minimize that and not look at them very... we want them out of our way. Words can be difficult sometimes. Our player here, that we're setting up with the nav mesh agent, and I'm building a custom player controller. I could probably grab one off the market that's ready made, but it's just easier for me to understand how it works if I do it, and I like the new input system. The controllers make things really easy. I can add keyboard controls and everything else, so that if there's not a joystick available, it still just works, and I like that. I like the new input system a lot. It's really good. Really good, in my opinion. Okay, let's dive into some code, right? You want to see code? Yeah, you want to see code. Everybody wants to see code. Let's start with our map generator. Just quick, I'm going to go over it. We already went over it, but we made a custom editor for... I prefer to use Odin Inspector when I can, but this has to be done with entirely free assets, and even though I could remove Odin Inspector before publishing, that would be odd if I'm serializing fields, and because that the serialization aspect of Odin changes Unity's default, that could cause problems if I go to rip it out. So basic old school built-in Unity, we got a custom editor adding 2 buttons to the bottom of the script to both generate the map and to clear it in case we're not happy or we just want to reset it or regenerate it for some reason. It's easier than selecting all the children transforms and deleting them. This just does it with a button click. Now then, close that. Let's get a little zoom in up here. So the map generator itself, again, has the transform for the parent to hold all the objects. We have the texture 2D, which is the actual map texture that is going to generate, and then we have a scaler here for the tile size. We can change the tile size in Unity units, is what we're just using the basic Unity units here, and we're scaling. I have it set to 4 currently, so it's 4 Unity units per one tile, and that makes it so the world seems just a little bit big enough to run around. I could probably make that a bit smaller, and that would help with the whole mini map issue and finding your way around the dungeon. We'll play with that. We'll see what's up. We got a couple variables for the height and width. I don't actually use those any more than for this loop right here, so this seems a little redundant. In fact, we're gonna do some refactoring here. And no, it's not radical refactoring, but it's just some refactoring. There, that's fine. I don't need to store 2 variables, and yeah, they don't need to be there. That's fine. So this holds all the prefabs. Now, when we call generate, we get an array of pixels from our texture, and then we are declaring our color, or just a color variable. This is going to hold the individual pixel color. We do that outside of our loop so that we are not redeclaring it every single time we come in the loop. I should really be doing that with this vector 3 too, because efficiency. Yeah, that is a thing. And we will do an int for the index. Like that. And writer always gives me the, declared in the inner scope thing. But as I understand it, and if I'm not mistaken, someone please correct me if I'm wrong here, because I have been coding like this for a while, and if I am mistaken, that's embarrassing. Like, facepalm embarrassing. But this is how we learn, right? We ask questions and we talk about it. So I pre-declared these and then go through my loop and then use those variables instead of redeclaring them every single time in the inner loop. Now, I think this is more efficient on the garbage collector, the way I understand how garbage collecting works. Again, if I'm wrong, somebody please comment and let me know. I don't want to be going on wrong and then continuing to spread the wrongness throughout the world. That's not how we want to do. We want to teach good things. So, anyway, now that we are looping through the height and the width of the map, so we can go through the Cartesian coordinates and go through the grid, we're calculating our position, which would just be our iteration variables for the loops, except for we're scaling them based on our tile size. Fairly simple. Our index here, we are calculating a 1D index from a 2D array, which it's a fairly common thing. It's not hard. I don't want to go through explaining that right now. Not that I can't. I'm not all there. It's very late. It's almost 10 o'clock, and I got work at 4 or 5 in the morning, something like that. I got to get up early. Anyway, we use our pixel color variable here, and we grab the pixel for the index that we are currently at, and we check that pixel, and we say, hey, is it white? Because white is a ceiling. That's most of what the image is. Now, there's some technique to the order in which we are searching here, right? That being said, I'm actually not fully taking advantage of that, and this is why we go over code, and this is why we like talking about it and thinking about it after the fact, because we realize that we're not doing things optimally. Optimally. Words, man, stuff and things. Okay, So we're gonna go over here and let's go back to what we're. This looked just like this a moment ago, and that's just short form. This if is calling this next statement, which is calling this statement. In here, this if is calling just anything within these brackets, and I need more statements down here. But we're checking the pixel color, we're checking if it's white. Majority of the image is going to be white because that's all ceilings. That's the boundaries of the map, not where the map is. So most of it's going to be white, so that's our first check, because that's going to be our common check. And what we want to do here is continue. After we instantiate that object, because we said, hey, this one's white, and we instantiated the prefab there, we don't want to continue to run these if statements, right? We want to continue in the loop. So we call the continue statement and we move on. Now, that's why the order in which we do this is important, because the next most common thing we're going to find is anything that's not white. Go figure. So anything that's not white is going to be found next, and anything that's not white is a wall, a pillar, a corner, or a floor. And any of those things need to have a floor. So we add a floor independently. Now, I've seen methods where the prefabs have the floor included for the walls, the pillar, and whatnot. And that actually works pretty good. But I wanted to do it separate. There were reasons, and I'm forgetting them at the moment, which is embarrassing. Terrible. I should have took a note on why I did that. But there's a reason. We have floors. Everywhere there needs to be a floor. And then we go on to add, in fact, see, we're already messing up. We do not want to continue here. When it's not white, that means it's not this one. We're not continuing. We're adding the floor, and then we are going on through these statements to check if it was blue, green, or red specifically. That way we can see, hey, we want to add a wall, a column, or a corner, depending. And with that, we're checking the array for the walls or columns or corners. We're making sure that the length is greater than 0, meaning there is actually a prefab in that array set up in the editor ahead of time, so that when we go instantiate a random prefab from that array, it actually exists and we don't get a null reference exception, because null reference exceptions are awesome. Not really. Anyway, so we're storing our game object here, we're instantiating it, we're setting the transform to the parent transform, and then we're setting the position and the rotation on that object. We would set the position in here, but it makes an easier instantiate statement if we do it after the fact, and it's only a single line extra, so no big deal. The random prefab, we can actually jump down here. This is the random prefab. We'll make this a little bit bigger, make it easier to see. Our random prefab is going to take in the array of prefabs. It's going to check to make sure the length is greater than 0 and return null if not, because again, we don't want to access the array if it's still, we've somehow gotten to this point and it doesn't have anything in it. We don't want to return anything from it. But we're grabbing a random range from 0 to the length minus 1 of the prefab. Why length minus 1? Most programmers or anybody familiar with Unity knows this. For those of you who might not be, the length is the total count of the array. So if the array has 10 things, there's the length of 10. But when you're counting an array or accessing it, you start from 0, 1, 2, 3, and therefore you got a 0 to 9 index. So 10 minus 1 is 9. We're accessing 0 to 9. Fairly the basic simple stuff there. Okay. Now then, white, blue. That's it. That's quite it. And we can go in here and we can change these to continue. Makes it a little bit smaller. It's disorienting for me. I know that helps you guys see it better, but that really messes with my eyesight. and we don't need to do it there, but we might add something later, so we're going to leave it for the moment. The other thing you might notice is these find corner rotation, find column rotation, and find wall rotation. Now, we are the pixels array, right? The pixels array is our array of pixels from the texture. We are passing in the pixels array into these functions. The in parameter means it's read-only. We're only reading from it. And then we're passing in the current x and y position of the image. So down here, oh, look at that. We were using the height and the width. This is why you should radically refactor things in the middle of a stream. Alright, we'll add those back because it's embarrassing. Alright, we do that, and then we can just delete these, which simple enough. Oh my goodness, brain thing. Alright, now no red. I should have saw the red over off to the side and known I had messed something up right away, but I was too busy trying to focus on explaining how I was so smart that I was refactoring on the fly in front of y'all. Anyway, so we pass in the array, we pass in the position, we calculate our index once again to a 1D index because we are not using 2D arrays because we want to save space. Now, we grab the color, and so here's some math for us, right? This is our index. This is where we are on the height, and this is where we are on the width. Now, if you go up here, this matters. Because the X is on our inner loop, we're going across and then moving down, and going across and then moving down like a typewriter, across and down. Excuse me, need to cough, and I'm trying not to because we're almost done with the stream, and I want to explain. I'm gonna take a drink real quick. Excuse me. All right, so where we are on the Y multiplied by, I did that wrong. I did that wrong. Okay, this is width, right? Yes. Okay. Now, I had height there, and luckily this is a square image, so it worked fine. Had this been a rectangular image, that would have been incorrect. Because as we're moving over, our xi is counting up. It's incrementing as we move over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When we get to the end, that's our width. That's how many we've gone through. So our width is how many we've gone through. We go to the next row. So our y would go from 0 to 1 on the next row. 1 times the width is how many we've gone through. So y times the width is how many we've gone through so far, plus the x value, which is how many we've gone through on this row. That's how you explain it. There we go. Stuff and things. I probably shouldn't say that. I hope that's not trademarked. We know where that comes from. YouTubers everywhere know who that comes from. Anyway, so down here, we are subtracting our height from the index. Excuse me. Our width from the index. What that means is we're here. We're subtracting the width. That puts us exactly up. So to the tile exactly up. So this is up 1. This is down one because we're adding a height to it. And then over here, instead of a full height, the full, width amount, we're just going over one or back one to go left or right of the tile. And we're checking the color to see where the ceiling is. This is the wall. We're checking for wall rotation here, so we're only checking for ceilings, because wherever the ceiling is, that's where the wall is going to come from. That's where the wall is going up, and then we rotate the piece accordingly. And if all else fails, we give it a default rotation, and hopefully we'll notice something's wrong if that happens, and we'll deal with it. But otherwise, if you delete this, you get the little red squirrely of death because we have not returned a float value. One of these should hit, period. But if they don't, because for some reason the bitmap was somebody just colored on it with a random box of crayons, you need to return something that the function expects, and that's why we do that. And no, we're not converting that to a return statement because that could be wrong. But sometimes writers suggest things that are very awesome. Sometimes it's like, oh, you're almost there. Almost. Anyway, we're doing the same thing for the corner piece, except for we're checking two pieces. We're checking to see which two are ceilings, so we know where to orient the corner, because the corner should have a ceiling on two sides, not just one side. So there's that. And then the column. The column is, we're just checking where the ceiling is, because there should be a ceiling on the inner corner, like not directly adjacent to, but that corner piece, there should be a white tile there, a ceiling tile. And that's how we find our column orientation. And that is it for the map generator. Then we're going to get into the player controller, but I think we're going to save that for another episode. I might record that right now. That will depend on if I can stay up and do that, or if I can get some work done. We'll see what happens here in a minute. But that's going to be it for now, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. We have gone over our map generator, where we have taken a simple little bitmap like this, and we've used colors like red, green, blue, white, black, just basic simple things in our pixels. And our this is 128 by 128, so it's just a grid, Cartesian coordinates, very simple stuff. I say this for the non-game devs out there who might be watching. I have a lot of friends who aren't game devs that I've been trying to build a channel here, so we got to spread the word. Yeah. Anyway, we're doing pretty good, I think, so far. We're moving. I need to tie in all this animation. We have variables here already for controlling. Like, as you move, I have to set the speed, and that's going to determine whether you're at an idle state, a walk state, run state, or a sprinting state. And the sprinting has a boolean as well. Defending, I'm sad. I was using another version of this that the creator had made a few years prior. It was a little dog night, rat night type thing. It was not human, but it was very similar, but it didn't have the hand-painted look, so it didn't match the surroundings. It didn't look right. But it had a defend animation where he pulled his shield in front of him, and I thought that would be cool because we could, program the defend and attack in. This doesn't have it, and I unfortunately don't quite know how to animate this character myself. It does have an FBX file, but I imported the FBX in Blender, and it's not animated in Blender. It seems to be animated in Unity, and I don't have time to learn from scratch that right now just to complete one extra animation. So we're skipping that, and we're going to go with the light attack and the heavy attack that the character does have. We're going to use that to full advantage because his heavy attack is actually pretty cool. He swings his sword like in a wide arc in front of him, and that can hit like a bunch of enemies, and we can add a pushback with that particular attack too. That way he like pushes the group of enemies back, and we can get some breathing room. That'll be a cool mechanic, a pretty cool effect, and it shouldn't be too hard to do. Well, basically we'll just be recording light attack or heavy attack when we press the button. That way, when the sword collider hits something, we'll just kind of check, okay, what attack were we in, and we'll go based on that. I think that'll work like that. I'm hoping. Before I can get there, though, I need to get the enemy in somewhat like the character here. I need to get it basically set up, get the animation in, get the animation controller wired up so it's not just a demo of all the various animations. Because when I hit play with this, all he does is cycle through the various animations right now. Any of you who are familiar with Unity, you probably can see that. Those of you who are not, this is an animation controller. These are each animations, and these lines are transitions from one animation to the next. And you can see our character is going from one animation to, it's playing it a couple times and then moving on to the next one. And I got to go through and I got to redo all this so that it works with the actual player controller, and we get all our animations at the right time when we're pressing the right buttons and moving and running and sprinting and all that good stuff. This right here, guys, I'm using Peak right now because someone showed me there was a Humble Bundle recently, and there's an add-on, a full screen add-on, so you can make Windows full screen, any window in Unity full screen to work on, which is kind of insane and kind of cool. But I'm running on 2021 right now, the beta version, or not going to say beta version, it's 2021.2.A15, whatever. It's one of those versions, and it actually has that functionality built in. Somebody made the point that, hey, why isn't this built in? And sure enough, Unity built it in. You just hit shift space, and all of a sudden you have full screen. And in case any are wondering, yes, that's with any window in Unity, and that is built in with Unity. That's not an add-on anymore. That is all built in. Awesome. Unity. Cool stuff there with the add. We like quality of life features so that we don't have to go download and import and add extra quality of life features. We like integrated quality of life features. This is good. Very good. Anyway, guys, we have ran this 10 minutes longer than we've meant to. Almost. I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to wish you all well. I hope everybody's safe in this time of this crazy time. We will make no jokes about it because that could be mean to a lot of people who are suffering, and we don't want to do that. So no jokes. Hope everybody's safe. Hope everybody's okay. Get your vaccines. I'm not going to go into politics about that. Just be safe. Masks, vaccines, stuff, things. Everyone, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I will see you in the next episode.